What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Facts Not Included. I'm your host, Peter Cabranes, and today we're going to be sitting down to discuss the latest Damien Chazelle movie, The First Man. This movie has just dropped this week in the United States. Not sure exactly its international release dates, but it has just dropped here in the United States, and it is sure to be an Oscar contender. Of course, given the names involved. Before going into the movie, that this is what you think, and so we'll discuss whether or not you feel that when coming out of this film. But going in, you hear Damien Chazelle, you hear Ryan Gosling, you think La La Land. You're thinking, oh, a big contender for the Oscars, possible win for Best Picture, maybe. These are just things that are going on in your head. Maybe possible Best Actor nomination, if not win. Like, these are things that are automatically just rolling in your head when you think of these two together, based on the last movie they did as a team. So why not? And then, of course, Damien Chazelle also directed Whiplash, which was another amazing movie. So, so far, so good. This guy has, he has a couple of movies under his belt. Most, if not all of them, have been amazing. So why not think that each movie he does is going to either get better or be on the same level of a La La Land, So why not think that? So that's how, sadly, that is kind of how I felt going into this movie. And I say sadly because I don't like going into a film feeling this sense of this high expectations. I don't like doing that. I don't like expecting the world from a movie that, of course, I barely even know what it's really about. Because when you hear the title, The First Man, you are expecting that this movie is either going to be a full 2 hours really delving into the spacewalk. And it's not really that movie. This movie does not do that exactly. And we'll get into that in a moment. But, as always, when I discuss the movies that I go see or that we go see, the guys and stuff, we always sit down and discuss our experiences at the movie theater. So I'm going to talk about that first before we get into the movie. So, I just want to say, I go to this theater, and I think we've talked about this theater. I think we've talked about this theater quite a number of times on the podcast, and so shout out to them again. So as you know, I'm a big fan of AMC, and of course Regal as well. But when you're in Manhattan, you kind of have to make sure that, not make sure, but you in a sense have no choice. You're going to be going to an AMC. I feel like there seems to be more of them. I don't know. Anyway, I catch myself going to this theater all the time now. The AMC on 34th Street, right across the street or up the block, whatever, from Madison Square Garden. It is a phenomenal, very simplistic styled theater. Yes, it has its ups and downs. My main issue with this theater is that there's only one concession stand, and it's on like the second or third floor or whatever, and all theaters must go through this concessions. It's kind of annoying. The bathroom is on another floor, so like if you're on floor 3 and you have to go to use the bathroom, it's on floor 4. It's kind of like I'm not sure if when they made this theater they thought about logistics in regards to that, so I'm not too sure about that. But anyway. We do enjoy this movie theater. They recently got a Dolby Atmos type of experience there, so they're not the only one in Manhattan that has it. It's not only Empire 25, it's also 34th Street. So that's pretty dope. I'm pretty excited about that. I got, as you know, if you've heard the Jurassic Park episode, we got to experience the Dolby Atmos on 42nd Street's Empire 25. And so I kind of want to experience it on 34th Street now, only because that's the one I go to. I prefer that one over the other one. So, yeah. Anyway, so I get into the theater. I got there stupid early, 8 o'clock showing. Got there really early. Got out of work, and I was just like, you know what? I'm in the mood to go see a movie. I want to go alone only because, that's what I used to do. I used to do that a lot. I used to go to the movies alone quite a number of times, especially when there was a movie theater right near my house. And so I felt like this is something I'm going to do again. Why not? It's a good night out for yourself. Enjoy the town, man. New York City in your hands. Why not? So you see so many people going out together. You see so many, people enjoying the night together. But, I said, why not? Why not treat yourself to a good old-fashioned dinner and a movie? But by yourself. Like, why not? I know a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, that's depressing and that's so pathetic. But at the end of the day, I know I'm not alone. I know I have, I know I have friends and I have a girlfriend. So it's like, it's fine. It's not too depressing knowing that, you still have those things to fall back on. So, why not? But, so I get into the theater. I got into my seat probably about 7:30. And if you know anything about movie theaters, which you should because you're listening to this podcast, geez. If you know anything about movie theaters, especially, and I don't know if it's a New York thing, I don't know if it's a North American thing, but 8 o'clock means that's when the trailers are going to begin. So from 7:30 to 8 was just Mia Menounos commercials for Fathom events and stuff, or whatever that is that she hosts on the commercial scene while you're at, that's at Regal, right? Or does she do, I don't know. I wasn't even paying attention. All I know was that, that's Regal. So this was, they have this new thing. It's called a Noovie app, Noovie. If you guys want to sponsor us, feel free. But the Noovie app is this really interesting app where you download it and you just point it to the screen whenever they start a game. You point it to the screen and you start playing this game. There's this shooting game where you a space shooting game. It's kind of like a 3D version of Galaga or something. And then there's a racing version of the game. You have to race to get to the movie theater. It's a bit ridiculous, but it's fun for kids and adults that are just looking to waste some time before the movie starts. They are well aware you got there really early, and so they're looking to get you entertained and get all the fun out of you before you get to see a movie. So I find it to be both a positive and just a weird, strange thing. But it's not negative. I don't find it to be a negative thing. It's a free app. I think you can do other things on the app other than just play games. So I think it's an app that is, I guess, worth downloading. I don't know. I have to check it out first. But it was fun. Every couple of minutes, a new game would start, and then but then there was commercials and stuff like that. But I'm rambling about this, but it was not packed. My theater. There was roughly about 20 of us in the room, maybe 30. I want to go with 20 in the room. I was the only one in my row, except for this one other dude that was way in the corner by himself. But yeah, I mean, that was it. Not too many people seeing this movie on a Thursday night in this theater. The theater was packed, though, so I'm assuming they were going to go see Venom. It's a movie that, I discussed on last week's Tangent Friday. Is that a movie that I was not too interested in going to see? So, I'll wait for Antonio or Mike to go see it, or maybe even review it for you guys here. But it's not a movie that I'm gonna go see in the theaters. And maybe they were also going to see A Star Is Born, and even Bad Times at the El Royale. That also came out on Thursday as well. So who knows what people were going to see? I just don't think they were going to go see this movie, which is very shocking to me, because I feel like this is a movie that is going to win the box office this weekend just behind Venom. I feel like it's going to be Venom, maybe First Man, and then A Star Is Born goes into third place. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that is the case. We'll find out when the box office official box office comes out, but we'll see. So anyway, not too many people at this theater, which was fine by me. I'm good with that, because I feel like this is a movie that needed to have your full attention and not having to look around or hearing other people in a theater, I feel like this is a movie that needed your full attention. Not because it's complicated, because it's really not a complicated movie to watch or to understand. It's a very, in a sense, straightforward movie, and we'll get into that in a second. And so the movie starts off with Gyllenhaal's character, of course, Mr. Neil Armstrong. And what you think he's in is you already think he's on a NASA mission right away. You're not too sure as to what you're watching, but you see that he's in low orbit in space, and you notice that or maybe not even low orbit, maybe it's just the tip of the atmosphere or something. And so you notice that he's out there, and you're like, oh, maybe this is like Gemini 8 already, you know. And so it's not. What it is a naval rocket mission or something, a jet mission that they are performing in. So I think it was in California or somewhere out in the desert, and it basically fails, and he almost dies while doing it within the first 10 minutes of this movie. Obviously, he's not going to die, and he doesn't pass away until I think 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And so, but for those, it's an interesting wake-up call for those that aren't aware of, one, who he is or what he's all about. I mean, the fact that you aren't aware of the moon landing is kind of like interesting, but depending on your age and depending on your I suppose depending on your interest in American history, yeah, maybe you don't know that he did all these things. And so, but anyway, so the movie starts off with that, and then it deals with his little struggle and pain there. But then it quickly jumps, like I don't know how many minutes this goes through, but it quickly jumps from we find out he has a daughter. We notice that she's very sick right away. We then notice that she's gone right away, like boom, right away she's gone. And his struggle with dealing with the fact that his daughter at such a young age passes away with a tumor, and they give a really amazing insight into his character by showing his struggle with trying to maybe figure out there's a way to help her. Neil Armstrong was a very intelligent individual, it seems. He's very calculative. He's very analytical, it seemed. And that's, you see that throughout the movie, how I don't want to take this away from Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, but Neil Armstrong, and maybe this is true as a human being. Maybe the real life Neil Armstrong was like this, but he's very stoic. He's very, in some cases, stone-faced, and in some cases, he doesn't. He might wear his emotions on his sleeves, but you won't notice them as much. They're not in your face, is what I'm trying to say. So by that logic, you see that his wife takes a strong footing in his life and his relationships with other people. So, she's the big vocal person in all of this. And so anyway, you see that he's trying to help. He's writing all these things down in regards to her tumor, in regards to her illness and stuff. And so it's very touching to see that he put effort into possibly saving his daughter's life. And clearly that does not occur. So it jumps to a funeral, and then it jumps to, I don't know exactly where it jumps to next, but I know it jumped, like, next thing you know, his wife's not pregnant, and then she is pregnant, and then they have another boy, so it's just, this movie spans, I think, 8 or 9 years or something like that, and so, and it does a really good job with basically explaining to you what year it is and what's going on. It's detailed enough to explain what type of mission they're on, what's going on, so on and so forth. So, and I appreciate that, because I felt that maybe, you're jumping too much. Next thing you know, it's the space mission at the end. You feel like maybe the movie's just going to cover that for the rest of the time being, but clearly not. They really go into to important details in his life, and I don't know if we were meant to see Neil in the way that we saw him. And what I mean by that, as I mentioned, is that you see him as a very calculative, stoic individual. Ryan Gosling gives an unbelievable performance, but there are moments where Gosling seeps through, and I don't know if that's an issue. Like, I'm not sure yet. I have to watch it again. But if you know what I mean by Gosling seeping through, is that if you know anything about Ryan Gosling as the actor that he is, there are some movies that he does where, yes, you believe he's the character he's playing. Because in some cases, most of the time, he's not playing a real person. He's playing some made-up character. So you can kind of delve into this imagination. Ooh, excuse me. You could delve into this imagination a little bit further because he's not playing a real historic individual. Being that he is playing someone that most Americans are aware of, or at least know his name, maybe it's a bit harder to believe that he is Neil Armstrong. And the fact that they didn't do much to make him look like Neil Armstrong, there was that too. Like, they didn't do much to make him, they didn't do much to change his appearance. They just, it was a haircut, and that was it. What they did do, that I noticed a bit, was that he didn't really sound like typical Ryan Gosling. He did. I feel like his voice was changed a little bit. He was putting on a certain accent, and maybe that was just me. But I did hear that throughout the movie, and I do feel like there were moments where you did hear Ryan Gosling. And again, that's gonna happen. But is that to take away from his performance? No, I don't think so. But I truly think that he will get an Oscar nomination come the time of the award season and when they do announce nominations. Unless there's, 5 more movies that knock it out of the park where he gets kicked off the list, I feel like he definitely deserves to be on that list. Whether or not he wins, huge question, huge red flag, only because we don't know the other. One, we don't know if he's going to make it. And 2, we don't know the other possible contenders. But anyway, so with that being said, this movie is really cool. So I'm trying to remember everything in order, but at the same time, I'm just trying to remember everything. Because this movie is, for all intents and purposes, it is a bit, for some people, long. I didn't feel it was long. I felt like if there were maybe moments that were stretched longer than others maybe should have been. Like, I don't know if it was just me, but the Gemini 8, or I they kept calling it Gemini, right? Gemini? I don't know. But anyway, I call it Gemini. Gemini 8, I felt like that sequence and the whole getting them to space, launching in space, all that stuff, and landing, I felt like that was a lot longer of a sequence than it maybe needed to be, but that's just my memory of watching that scene. So I might be wrong, but I felt like that was a lot longer than maybe it should have been. I got why the end of the movie was taken the way that it was, because it is the most symbolic moment in American history in regards to space travel. We landed on the moon before anybody. So I could see why they took their time with the shots and the editing. I completely understand why you would want to show and evoke the feeling of national pride, possibly. Just all these feelings. I understand. I get it. And that was actually the only scene, I believe, that was also shot in complete IMAX. So if you want to see this movie in IMAX, be aware that the movie is in IMAX, but very little bit of the movie is in IMAX, and it's going to be those last 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I get why the end of the movie felt a bit of a tug and pull for some individuals, but but it completely makes sense to me why it would be that way. So I'm fine with that being the way it is. Another thing I loved about this movie is the relationship of Neil just with space and just with the mechanics of things. Again, they keep showing you that he's very calculative. He's a person that is more concerned with getting to space and making sure that the mission is accomplished more than anyone there. And again, not too sure if that is exactly how the real Neil Armstrong was, but maybe so. And then we get introduced into Buzz Aldrin, who's a bit of a prick, and I'm curious if he was like that then, or if he's like, if you know, from what I get from him now, I don't get it. But was he like that back then? Like, was he all about the cameras? Was he all about just being the most liked? And I don't know. I'm very interested to learning more about the Buzz Aldrin of the 60s, you know, and of the 70s. I'm very interested in learning more about that because when I think of Buzz Aldrin, I don't necessarily think about someone who's all about the limelight and all about the attention. So that's something that stuck out to me. It didn't take me out of the movie, of course. It's just something that to me I was unaware of, so I want to look more into. I'm not. It's still making me think about it right now, even by sitting down and thinking about it. But anyway, so the introduction of Buzz Aldrin in this film is interesting, and that relationship. I forget the individual's name, and I feel so terrible because the man passed away in real life as well on the Gemini mission. On the Apollo prep mission. I forget his name. You know what? I'm going to look it up quickly. Apollo prep fire. Here we go. Yes, Apollo's first disaster. Edward. Yeah, Ed. Yeah. That was I think that was the man's name. Virgil and Roger. Yeah. So these individuals passed away in 1967 on my birthday, January 27th. Wow. His relationship with those guys, especially, I think it's Ed. Yeah. I think that was his neighbor, right? That relationship with them and throughout the film until his passing was very strong. And because I believe it was Ed, was the individual that would keep Neil grounded in the sense of, Neil, it's not all about the mission, dude. Like, we need to just, go get a beer every once in a while. Let's get up and do things. Let's be human a little bit. I mean, he didn't quite say those words, but you got those actions from him, and you got that understanding, and so that's fantastic. The lady that plays Neil's wife, who I'm going to get her name in 2 seconds, Claire Foy. What a performance in this movie too. I feel like first of all, didn't know it was her, because now that I see it's her, I was like, whoa, that's not her. Now that I see it's her, they did a great job of masking her, with the haircut and stuff, making her look like Janet. She does a great job of being that rock for Neil. It's an old school type of love, that that very 50s, 60s type of, I'm going to stay home and be the wife, type of idea. But with that being said, she's still that rock, that foundation for Neil Armstrong. She's there for her kids. And one of the most standout moments of this film is just before he's about to go onto the Apollo 11 mission, and he's wasting time by putting nonsense in his bag and walking back and forth to his luggage and just wasting time so that he doesn't have to deal with his children. And he goes, well, it's too late. They already fell asleep. And she goes, no, they haven't. They haven't, or something like that. And she tells him that, listen, you're going to go in there. She closes the door, slams the door, starts screaming, like, you're going to fucking go in there. You're going to talk to them, and you're going to deal with this, you're going to let them know that you might not come back. That is just so touching, so heartbreaking, knowing that we know what happens. We know he comes back. We know he's alive. In real life, we know he's going to make it back. But even knowing that, she makes you feel like, oh shit, man, maybe she's right. Maybe he's not going to make it out of this. Damn, dude, go tell your kids that this is dangerous and that there's a very strong chance you're not going to make it out alive. You might explode in space or something. Go out there, man. Tell your kids. And so there was a lot of moments like that in this movie where it's like, oh my God, we already know what happens. But you forget all about what actually happens in real life. And you just get sucked into the movie to believe that each scenario that is dangerous and and is high risk, you believe that, oh shit, I'm not too sure how this is going to end. And then you quickly realize, oh, well, I remember. There's a lot of moments like that in this movie where he gets in big trouble or he gets in grave danger, and you're not too sure. Beginning of the movie is one of those things. Later in the movie as well, on I think it was Gemini 8 or one of the other missions, they get stuck and it basically almost fails. And at each point, NASA still believes in him. They still go, hey, listen, we're going to have you man this operation. We're going to have you be the man that becomes the first one to step on the moon, walk the moon and stuff. And so he gets these setbacks, and then he gets these lucky breaks, and it's truly a story of an American hero. It's fascinating because, and people have been discussing this online, and I don't understand why they're upset about it. A couple of people are upset that you don't see the American flag get stuck into the ground of the moon, but you still do see it, guys. You still do see the moon. And I heard this on a couple other places and on Reddit that people are upset about that. But what I don't understand is the fact that if you're going to get upset about that patriotic, symbolic mumbo jumbo, then you're ignoring the big picture that the movie was discussing how important the space race was to the American people at the time and to the government as a whole. So they mentioned that the Russians beat us X amount of times before we got here. So this is why we need to go further and deeper into doing this. And so the whole thing with the chalkboard, drawing the Earth and then keep drawing that long line till you get to the moon, and being that we all have to start from square one. And so it makes no sense why people are upset. Oh, we didn't get to see the flag get planted in the moon. So that wasn't the point of this movie. That wasn't the point of any of this. You got to see it from a distance, fine, then that's it. I don't know. And the point of this movie is about Neil's story. Neil's story wasn't to plant a flag on the moon. His story was, this is an individual who was in the Navy. He decided to join NASA. Was he in the Navy? Yeah. Anyway, he decides to join NASA out of thin air because he feels like it will make a difference and it'll keep him level-headed, I suppose. And he just so happened to be really good at his job, and he had a lot of things going on. But that's his story. His story wasn't, I'm going to be the first American to land on the moon, and I'm going to stick a stake in the moon, and there's the flag. Like, that wasn't his idea, and that wasn't his goal. His goal was to show people that, hey, these things are possible. This is possible. You can go to the moon. You could accomplish so many things. And so, I don't know. People have got to shut up. Who cares about the flag right now in regards to this movie? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like this movie is pretty fantastic. There was no moments where I felt I was bored. There were no moments where I felt I was cheated out of a scene or anything like that. I felt that, yeah, maybe, I guess for some people, like I said, maybe you could have trimmed some things, but I don't know. But maybe that Gemini stuff. I don't know. But I think it's still very important to see those things, because then if not, none of the story makes sense. You know, you have to explain all the steps to getting to Apollo 11. You have to explain everything. And look, they didn't show every Apollo mission. They went from 1 to 10, and then they went right to 11. So they skipped all the other issues that the Apollo team went through, and all the accomplishments they went through until they got to 11. So I feel like this, you know, they did an excellent job in regards to that. And I feel like like I keep saying, you're going to see this movie get Oscar nominations, whether or not it's for Best Picture or, you know, let's talk about the CGI of this film. There were many, many moments where I wasn't too sure what was real, what wasn't real. Like, I don't understand. Pretty fascinating. You know, the fact that you're watching a spacecraft launch into space and you're not too sure if that is from old footage or not, you know, and the same thing goes for the way the movie looks. There's that film feel to it. The fact that I don't think any of this movie was shot digitally except for the IMAX stuff. I think this movie was shot on film, if I'm not mistaken, because you see the grain, unless they added that, which would be pretty fucked up, you know, but I think this movie was shot on some sort of 35 millimeter cameras, you know, so hats off to them for shooting this on film and making me think that this is the 1960s, making me believe that this is an era in which, you know, film is being still produced, you know. So that was really awesome to see. And they did a really great job with the costuming and making me feel like this was the era in which it was. I not once think it was 2018 while watching this movie. So hats off to those people as well, to those individuals that put that together. The costuming and the CGI and just the creating of this world that was, you know, Florida, California, and Texas, and wherever else they were. But hats off to you guys for making me believe that I was in all those locations and that I was truly in the 60s. And so, yeah, thank you, because that was great. And so, yeah, anyway, so I feel like this movie is a definitely must watch for individuals that want to have a good time this weekend or in the subsequent weekends to come. If not, go enjoy the other movies that are coming out. Don't forget that Halloween is coming out on the 19th, I believe, of this Halloween month that is October. So don't forget to check that out. We're definitely going to be doing a review of that, whether it's just me or Antonio and Mike or whichever combination of those that you will be getting. But we definitely will go see that movie. I know that for a fact. But anyway, I think I would give this rating of this movie. It is probably my second favorite movie of the year. I'm going to give it a solid 9.3 out of 10. I can't remember what I gave Black Klansman, but that movie is my favorite movie of the year so far. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed First Man. Let us know what you thought of the movie through the comments on Twitter or Facebook, or wherever you may want to leave a comment, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or anywhere where you listen to podcasts. If you would like to have a discussion about this movie or further questions regarding any topics on Facts Not Included, also feel free to hit us up on an email. factsnotincluded@gmail.com, and like I said, also on Twitter and Facebook. So please make sure that you keep the conversation rolling. This is a community. That's all it is. Facts Not Included is a community for those that love movies and those that love entertainment. And we just want to keep the ball rolling and the conversation going. And so we truly, truly appreciate the love and support that you guys continue to give us here at Facts Not Included. And many great things to come from us. And so I've been Peter Cabranes, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Peace out and enjoy yourselves. Goodbye.